Let's fight. A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome in the ring. It's Wednesday night, and if it's Wednesday, you guys know that we're in the diaspora. And by now, you know we have a very, very special guest with us this evening. And as you know, when we have our very special guest joining us, we usually suspend our hot topics for the evening. But we're going to wait till you guys have a chance to share our live stream, whether you're joining us on Twitter, you're joining us on YouTube, you're joining us on Facebook. Uh, Please share our live stream. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you're joining us there, and also retweet on Twitter. We're going to try to share some of your comments. Folks, we have a very special guest in the house, so all our trenchies, we're going to ask you guys to behave yourselves this evening. But do share the live stream. You know that is the price of admissions. And we hope that you guys have had a good day at work. Some of you are still on the clock. Some of you like to watch us this hour at work. Some of you are home on your smart television, picking us up on YouTube. Thank you guys for joining us. And for all of you guys joining us on Twitter, retweet. On Facebook, share our live stream. We're going to wait until we get to that magic number, and we are going to have our guests on and start our discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, again, the price of admission is to share this live stream. And I'm so privileged that so many of you are already sharing. So many of you are already joining the broadcast. A very, very special evening this evening. If it's Wednesday, by now you guys know that we're in the diaspora. We're going to be talking with folks from somewhere around the region or further afield. So welcome one and all, wherever you're picking us from, at home here in Guyana, in the Caribbean, or internationally. We welcome each and every one of you. We trust that you guys are going to make us your stay for the next perhaps 45 minutes to an hour. We are tremendously privileged to have each and every one of you here with us. And we are just looking to see when we touch that magic number, and we are going to start our broadcast, our program. We're going to start our program proper. So again, welcome to all of you joining us via Twitter, via YouTube, via Facebook. We are very, very privileged to have you each and every night from Monday to Friday with us. And as you know, we take a rest on the weekend, and then we're back with you on Mondays again to have another go at it. Welcome in the ring. Welcome ringsiders. Welcome trenchies. Again, I say we have a special guest with us. Be on your best behavior. Guyanese especially. Be on your best behavior. You all know how we do it. When we got guests come in, we strip the little dust on the mat and so on, and we tuck away the dirty linens and so on. Right? So you all be on your best behavior this evening, folks. And we're just about to touch that magic number, and we are waiting for you guys to share our live stream so that other persons might benefit from the content of the discussion this evening. We are set at our end, and we're just waiting for you guys to come on board to share the live stream. And we want to give our guests an especially warm welcome this evening. You can do that through your emojis, through your comments, through your reshares, retweets, through the comments you guys give on YouTube. Click that subscribe button for us there on YouTube, folks, and let's get started. We're almost where we need to be with that magic number, and we're going to get right to it. So great to see all of you. I'm hoping that the weather is great wherever you are this evening. For those folks, let me see where some of you are picking us up from. Let me know where you're joining us from. Carla, Washington, good to see you guys there. Marcella, good to see you too. And Harry Dukaran, who's watching us from Texas. Good to see you, Uncle Harry. Rashley Ford, good to see you, who's joining us from Antigua. Did I see Rashley said he's joining us from Antigua? Marcus and all the other folks, June Peters and Renee, all of you guys, thanks for joining us. Folks, we have touched our magic number, and I want to get right to it because we have quite a program planned for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm tremendously privileged to have with me this evening Senator Donna Scott-Mottley. She's an attorney at law. She is part of the People's National Party in Jamaica, and she is the opposition spokesperson on justice and gender affairs. Let us welcome this evening Senator Donna Scott-Mottley. Senator, very good evening and welcome in the ring.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. And I would like to say good evening to your listeners and your viewers. I love the name of the program, In the Ring. It's bouncy. And especially for a woman, it's delightful.
Well, I know that in Jamaica, Madam Senator, that you are a heavyweight. So the privilege is mine to have you with us this evening.
Well, I can I give a shout out to my Guyanese friends?
Go right ahead, ma'am. Go right ahead.
I do have some in-laws there, and I want to wish them a special good evening and to tell them that I'm happy that I could be here with them.
Awesome. Awesome. Senator Mottley, before the ink dried on the programs and speeches for International Women's Day, which we celebrated in March, which revolved around the theme of challenging the world to stand against stand against gender bias and inequality, and to seek out and to celebrate women's achievements towards the creation of an inclusive world. Before the programs and the speeches dried, the world, as it were, witnessed what transpired in Jamaica with MP Wright. Tell us about that incident. We have a video of the incident queued up, and I want you to walk us through wearing your attorney at law cap. Walk us through that incident.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
So as you can see here, there are two vehicles parked in a yard. There is a house in the background. Steps lead up to that house, and I mention it because it will come into play later. We see that there is obviously some altercation going on between a female and a male, and interestingly, the male is jacketed. The punches are there. There is some exchange of blows. We see how the gentleman has started pounding the woman, mercilessly, in my view, aiming for the head most of the time. And he is generally displaying a very vicious personality. He is unceasing in raining blows on her. She is fighting back, obviously, at some time, a feeble attempt in my view, but she does appear to be, taking some punches too, giving some punches too. He continues to beat her. And this unfortunately continues for some time. I'm not quite clear what it is that he has in his hand or what he picked up. That is not clear in the video. So what we had was a pause. Obviously, some discussions were taking place, and one would have hoped that it did not result in further blows, because she's pushing him off. He is actually raining more blows on her. And this continues. George, it was really very difficult to watch this, to see how this man hit this woman. And as your viewers can see it, he's dragging her, he's using something to hit her. That is the famous stool. He literally pounds her in her head with the stool.
Yeah. So there we have it.
What I want to bring to your attention now, you see the steps, somebody goes up the steps, and it's going to become important when we have our later discussion, because here is another person who is approaching the two persons, obviously trying to intervene in some way. And I will explain when we're discussing it why, to me, it is so important that we actually see that there were two witnesses present. So.
Great. So, Senator Mottley, the MP's name is George Wright. And we have our own George Wright here named Kwame McKoy, because we have a similar incident here with two MPs in this case. who had an altercation. The only difference is it was not caught on camera. That is the only difference here. Senator Mottley, in a newspaper article at your end, you would have said very publicly, I think it was on television, Jamaica Prime Time. You said that when you saw this brutal beating, it was traumatizing. You were repulsed that anyone could treat another human being like this, much so an MP, right? And that an MP of this caliber should not be passing legislation in the House, and that he should tender his resignation. Where are we currently?
Well, let me tell you, I need to go back a little.
Go right ahead.
As you had said, March 8th was International Women's Day, and the month of March is Women's Month. In the Parliament, we were actually having a joint select committee on sexual harassment. So we were discussing this sort of approach towards women, violence against women in general. There was in the House about 3 weeks prior to this incident, the parliamentarians were all denouncing violence against women because the body of a 20-year-old girl called Canis was found in a shallow grave, partially decomposed. It had come at a time when a number of women had been viciously attacked by men. There was one video of a woman being chopped in her head with a cutlass by a man. There had been incidents where women, 70 years old, a woman goes out to church. 3 days later, she's found with her underwear missing. She's dead. Another incident in which a woman was found with her throat slashed. And another incident in which a gentleman killed his wife and then killed himself. So there was a context. There's a context which is very important. And in the Parliament, that is in the lower house, all the members of Parliament, of which we have had the most significant amount of women, for the first time in the Parliament of Jamaica, we have a considerable amount of women. And they were irate. They condemned domestic violence. They decided that the law should be amended to deal harsher penalties against men who offended and men who hurt women. So when this incident happened, I saw it on a Sunday. At the time, of course, there were allegations that it was a member of Parliament, but no one could be certain. I think you would have had to know the people personally to be able to...
And this was April 6th?
No, actually it did not come out on April 6th. It came out the following Sunday. So Great. The incident took place on April 6th, but it went viral on the Sunday.
Great.
So that night, Minister Babsy Grange, who is responsible for gender affairs, sent a tweet in condemnation of what she saw on the video, and generally wanted the police to investigate promptly and to, bring the person to book. I tweeted, and I'm not a tweeter, I'm not a great social media person at all, Sharon, but I was moved to tweet my support for her position. As things unfurled, we learned the next day, by about midday, the nature of the reports. In my view, and in the view of most Jamaicans, confirmed that this now was Member of Parliament George Wright, who had been abusing his partner. I issued a statement of condemnation, and I asked for his resignation. And I did so because I feel that when you sit in the Parliament, you are to demonstrate certain qualities. You have to lead in the way that you present yourself. You have to stand for something. And particularly in a case where you are legislating against violence, where you are going to be required to, because the government is presently on a path to amending the Domestic Violence Act. I felt that someone like that, someone who demonstrated that kind of character, ought not to sit in the Parliament. So that is a background to what took place.
Great. Thank you for that background information. On PBC Jamaica, the Speaker of the House, the Honorable Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, said that she wouldn't condone that kind of violence. As the government and parliament, she said, we cannot condone it, what we had seen on the video. But she did say that she had watched the video several times, but couldn't identify any individual. This is the Speaker of Parliament. This sounds very familiar. She couldn't identify any of the individuals on the video. And since the police had not identified anyone or charged anyone, she was disallowing a motion to suspend the MP, George Wright, in this brutal assault, as you said, of his partner, Tannisha Singh.
Well, if you were going by the video alone, I think she would be right. Because you really, unless you know the individuals, you would not be able to say, this is the person. But there was a lot of other surrounding circumstances. For example, the Jamaica Labour Party itself, the Monday, issued a statement in which it condemned the incident, in which it urged Member of Parliament George Wright to turn himself over to the police. It spoke to the fact that if it were confirmed that it was in fact MP George Wright on the video, the action would be swift and decisive. I don't know quite how things began to shape and shift, because the more Jamaica was convinced that it was George Wright, the less the Jamaica Labour Party and the government was convinced. So they began to become very technical. We cannot identify him on the video. We are not sure it is he. However, he now has to sit in Parliament as an independent member. He will not be able to join the Jamaica Labour Party Parliamentary Caucus. And we are going to then have a discussion as to what disciplinary measures we'll take against him. I thought it was utterly ridiculous. I thought it was contemptuous of somebody's intelligence, because surely you can't be a member of the Jamaica Labour Party and sit in the House as an independent. That's a contradiction. You either are or you're not. So if they were serious, they would have had to take disciplinary measures against him, expel him from the party, and then say that he is an independent person. All along,
Senator Mott,
no, please.
Right ahead.
No, so it's as though there's an agreement amongst the JLP members that at no time are they going to admit that it was George Wright. In fact,
that is what I was coming to, because as you said, not only based on the video, but all the surrounding circumstance of this brutal assault on Miss Singh. Whether you were surprised by the ruling of Speaker Miss Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, and as a female speaker too, were you surprised by that kind of ruling to disallow the suspension of the member?
No, I was not at all surprised. I did not anticipate that she would have allowed it. And let me say that I know her very well. We were at law school together. She's my friend and my colleague. I know what she stands for personally, but I know that she's a strong political person. And once the party took that line, I had absolutely no doubt that she would have supported it, and she would have found a way to support it. So I didn't think that because she condemned she condemned violence and she denounced it, that she would give any leeway at all to the opposition to embark on that process. No, I didn't think so. So I was not surprised.
Wow. You said early on about how on International Women's Day you had all of these speeches that were made and so forth. Were female ministers of the government outraged? Were female MPs on the government benches outraged?
None of them expressed outrage. None of them came forward to condemn the action. apart from when Minister Grange on that that tweeted the Sunday night, which perhaps if they had met before, she would also not have done. They condemn violence in a general way. No one has condemned what they saw on the video. The way in which they have treated the video is to say, we can't tell who's on the video. And it's obviously an attempt to protect the member of parliament. Now, Sherrod, it's important, it's important to understand that even while denying that they know who it is, more interestingly, while saying that they met with him for many, many hours and he neither confirmed nor denied that he was the person on the video, in spite of everything, they are still saying they are not sure that it was George Wright on the video.
Wow, wow.
So you ask
That is quite interesting.
So you ask yourself, so why are you saying then that he must sit as an independent person? Why did you call on him to go into the police? And why have you called on him to take leave of absence? He's an innocent man.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the police, I think on April 12th, you would have called on the Jamaica Constabulary Force to bring all resources and at its disposal, rather, to immediately investigate Member of Parliament of Central Westmoreland, George Wright, who was captured, as we know, on video on April 6th, repeatedly striking at that point, an unidentified woman. So do you think that in this whole scenario, even the police force were sort of co-conspirators in not wanting to out this MP?
Well, sir, at the beginning, there was a big runaround. They were clearly not moved at all to take any steps against George Wright. They gave excuse after excuse. And I think when public pressure, when it was clear that it was not just coming from the opposition, because what they tried to say was that I was simply being political in calling for his resignation. When the society started expressing their abhorrence of what took place, the police then had to move, in my view. The reason why I asked you to pay particular attention to the steps and the person going up the step, and also to the fact that somebody else approached the couple, is to say that any capable, I don't even think you have to be capable, any trainee investigator would know that the first thing you would do, you can identify the spot in the video, and the first thing you would do is to try to locate those witnesses. That's the first step. That's how you confirm the identity of the persons there. It's so straightforward that you would have to approach it that way. Now, let me say this, that there was an interview in one of our evening newspapers where one of the persons there, the one who approached the couple, did say that he saw it, he witnessed it, and so on, and tried to do something about the incident. But what the police are saying is that nobody is willing to come forward as to give a statement about what they observed, and the couple have decided that they are not going forward with it. So that is how it is that the case is closed.
Wow. Wow. It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting, but I want to broaden the discussion from what we here in our country, Guyana, know as the Kwame McKoy, Member of Parliament, and Tabitha Sarabo-Halley, and his assault on her, and the George Wright assault in Jamaica, to this perhaps regional pattern that we see. It was the regional pattern of gender-based violence, that is. At the UN, their Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women says that violence that is directed against a woman because she's a woman, and that it affects women disproportionately. This committee concluded that acts that inflict physical and mental and sexual harm or suffering, threats of such acts, coercions, or other deprivations of liberty all constitutes gender-based violence.
Yes.
In addition to that, Senator, the Inter-American Convention on the Prevention and Punishment and Eradication of Violence defines violence against women as any act or conduct based on gender which causes death or physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women, whether it is public or whether it is private. But more focused, the UN Women and its focus on the Caribbean, it noted that the most common form of violence experienced by women globally is physical violence inflicted by an intimate partner. On average, it says, at least 1 in 3 women is beaten, coerced into sex, or otherwise abused by an intimate partner in the course of her lifetime. Within the Caribbean, violence against women is pervasive, and that is what we have witnessed. It goes on to state that women who experience abuse are often blamed for the abuse. They are thought to have provoked the violence and are somehow deserving of it. Senator, when we see what transpired in Jamaica, are we changing this culture or are we welding it even stronger to the fabric of Caribbean society and even internationally?
I thought this was such a great opportunity for the government, for the parliament, the entire parliament, to demonstrate to women that they can rely on them for support and protection. It's a wasted opportunity. They could have sent a signal to women and encouraged them to come forward. And believe me, I am extremely sensitive to what women go through. As an attorney at law, I can tell within 5 minutes whether a woman is in my office seriously wanting to bring a case against her partner, or she's there because she needs somebody to talk to. Women are challenged to pursue these matters. They're traumatized by the very fact that they have been beaten and then to go into the court system. And I will tell you that just as in cases sometimes of sexual assault, the first thing that somebody asks is, what did she do to him? Similarly, to when a woman dresses in a skimpy outfit, they want to say, boy, she's looking for somebody to rape her, as though the woman always has to be the accountable one and the responsible one. I want that to change. And I thought, and I hoped that we all could say to the women, we're here for you. We hear you. We give voice to your pain. We give voice to your suffering. That was not what happened.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I feel the same way about these missed opportunities. We have these international days where we come out and we say what is politically correct. But when we have the opportunity to demonstrate the action, we fall far short of what is should be minimally acceptable. Senator, in 2001, the Caribbean Regional Tribunal on Violence Against Women report, it observed that far from being a haven, a place of peace, the home for many women is a dangerous place. Women, unlike men, are more likely to be beaten and sometimes killed, not by a stranger, but by someone they know intimately, by a husband, a boyfriend, or a partner. This matter has been in the public domain, Senator Mottley, for more than a week. Why do you think that the victim has been so reluctant to come forward? Are we witnessing before our eyes in real time why women in Jamaica, in Guyana, and in the region don't come forward because they feel no justice will be done?
I think in this case in particular, this is a powerful man. He's a member of parliament. He's very, very highly connected. And although in normal cases you have family members and so who are telling you, no, the man is a good provider, you can't report him to the police. What happens if he goes to jail? You'll be deprived of support and so on. In this particular case, I can just imagine what she went through. The entire leadership of the country would have prevailed on her not to proceed with her report. She would have come under terrible pressure not to proceed. And this, I gather, is a long-standing relationship. So all of those things would have come together to make her feel that the best decision in her own interest was not to go further, not to give a statement, and to indicate to the police that she did not want to pursue it.
Senator Mottley, and you did say that you have an indication that this has been a long-term relationship, which means that this level of abuse didn't start on April 6th.
Well, there was something that struck me. Under normal circumstances, with those blows, I would certainly not expect a woman to be still standing. Even when that stool hit her head more than once, it's almost as though there was a sort of stoicism about her, like, it was not something that surprised her. She didn't try to get away from it. It was just remarkable when you look at it. And the first time I watched the video, I couldn't watch it all the way through. I just could not. And it wasn't until I was interviewed the following day and the interviewer mentioned about the stool that I realized that I was duty bound to go and watch it to the end.
Wow.
The way in which she stood up and took those blows, her feeble attempts at resisting, the fact that she did not try to get away from this man suggested to me that it was not the first time that she was having this experience. The difference with this one, Sherrod, is that it was caught on video. And as we got the verdict about George Floyd yesterday, I was feeling that it would have been nice to have gotten a different kind of verdict in relation to George Wright. The two in both instances, the distinguishing thing was that they were caught on video. Because we know that women endure this sometimes on a daily basis. 77% of women in Jamaica feel that it is natural, it's ordained, it's almost an act of God that men should be the head of the household, even though we are acclaimed as having the highest amount of managers in Jamaica. So there's this contradiction in the society about women's achievements and the attitudes towards women.
Yeah. Senator Mottley, and what is even more striking, in the Guyana experience with MP Kwame McKoy and MP Tabitha Sarabo-Halley, they were in the precincts of Parliament when he would have assaulted her, albeit not in such a vicious manner as George Wright, but it was in a section of Parliament where there were no video cameras. And what was said locally here is that the police couldn't see from the video footage provided any assault taking place. So that is the Guyana recent context. But here in Jamaica, you have the video evidence of this brutal beating of a woman, and still you come to the same verdict.
Well, here it's even more bizarre because they say we cannot identify him on the video, even though it is confirmed by the police that both persons made reports. The police say that the woman was in such a physical state that they took her to the hospital to get treatment, that they both again attended and decided not to pursue. In other words, there was so much circumstantial evidence. If you wanted to deny the video, there was so much else that you could have concluded from. So, it's how people use power, and power can be used in many ways. I would like to see in the Caribbean that power be used to empower other people, to make them better, to make them stronger, to set their moral compass, to help
and not to protect abusers.
And I want to make this point, Sherrod, because you were talking in COVID, you were talking about what happens behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. In COVID, we can expect sexual assault of children. That has been confirmed. We can expect it to be increased. and we can expect domestic violence against women to be increased. Because what happened is now they can't get away from their abuser. They can't go to work to restrict the level of contact. They can't go out to, a social event to restrict the level of contact. They are confined in a space with their abuser. So I anticipate that we'll be having many, many reports from women about the violence which has been meted out to them.
Yep, yep. You would have said it early on in passing. The Jamaica Gleaner, we learned, said that Mr. Wright, and you did mention it, would not be allowed to sit with the Jamaica Labour Party government. He's on a leave of absence from Parliament. I think that's what it said this morning, yeah. But they did not state any reason. Has the political damage been done already? Where women see that powerful men in particular are not going to be held accountable. And even if they're held accountable in not any meaningful ways, and perhaps you being on the ground can expanding all of these political gymnastics. You're not going to sit with the government and you're on a leave of absence from Parliament. Does that mean he's still getting a parliamentary salary, even though he's on leave of absence?
Absolutely. And I like the word that you use, gymnastics. I don't know why they formed the view that the public is not aware of what is happening. I don't know if they feel that if they have convinced themselves in a Trumpian kind of way that because they think so and they say so, it is a reality. Let me tell you quite frankly what surprised me. I have been in public life for some time now. But women see me now and approach me and tell me, don't give up. Continue to fight this issue. Don't drop it. I walked into a place and it was, all the women were applauding me. And I was taken aback because it made me, I had felt that women were themselves going to say, well, he's a big MP and we know how it works and nothing is going to come of it and so on. But they were actually trying to encourage me to act on their behalf, which surprised me, quite frankly. I thought it would have been a dead issue by now. And I think that is what the ruling Jamaica Labour Party believes, that this is a 9-day wonder. Let's ride it out. Everybody will soon move on.
Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. Throughout this debacle, ordeal, whatever the public wants to view it as, I saw one statement on the Prime Minister's Andrew Holiness Twitter account where he said that the party would have met and Mr. Wright will be stepping back from his more formal role within the party and so forth. Otherwise than that press statement that I saw, the Prime Minister has been tremendously quiet. And from what we have heard at our end, the Prime Minister has been very vocal on inconsequential issues in comparison to this. Why this silence from the Prime Minister?
Let me go back a little. Can you conceive of having a member of Parliament in a meeting for hours on end with the leadership of a political party and he refuses to confirm or deny that he was a party to this incident or that he was a person on video? So we start there.
Yeah.
Do you think that is credible, having regard to your political experience? Do you think that any member of a party, regardless of his status, could meet with the leadership and be totally silent on this matter?
It is bizarre.
It is bizarre. Now, the Prime Minister spoke in Parliament, and it's good to speak in generalities. My own view was that if we're going to speak, and we're not going to speak to the particular incident, it will be better that we say nothing at all. Because you have to have people trust you as a politician. You have to maintain your credibility. And when you condemn violence, but you make excuses for your own member, people are going to see through that. And that as a member of the opposition, I should be delighted that they have missed this opportunity, because they that in politics, this is swing voters who determine the outcome. And I should be delighted, because swing voters are going to take a second look and ask themselves, is this what I approve of? Do I really want these people representing me? Do I want this person, this member of parliament? Does he reflect what I want my son to be? Does he reflect how I would want my daughter to be treated? So I should be delighted, but I am not, because what comes first is the moral core of my country. And I would have liked if they had demonstrated that powerful people are held accountable, that justice is for everyone, that we can have confidence that the system will work on behalf of all and not just the multitude who don't count.
Senator Mottley, why, based on all that you have said thus far, has been the government and the parties represent been so reluctant to say to George Wright, in the words of one of your famous jurors there, Mr. Wright, pack your bags and go?
I have been.
Why the reluctance? Is it? And I tread very carefully now. Proverbially, as we say in politics, is it that Mr. Wright has buried some political bodies, or he knows who has buried some?
Well,
why the reluctance?
As I say, they know something that the rest of us don't know, why they would protect him. Short, I don't know if you remember that the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, actually fired a cabinet minister. That was Senator Royal Reid. What happened, and it's relevant, is that on Monday, the opposition, the People's National Party, held a press conference in which they raised the fact that allegations were swirling about how certain financial matters were being handled in the ministry. There was allegations of corruption at different agencies. That was a Monday. The Wednesday, the Prime Minister announced that he was going to be relieved of his cabinet position in order to allow the investigation to commence. So there's no due process or anything.
Yeah.
It's not that people have complained. It's not that the police are investigating. But what was more interesting is that he would also step down as a senator. Now, I understand why he would be removed if the investigation is in respect of a ministry that he heads up. But why remove him as a senator? Why not allow due process to proceed? Why not do things in an honorable way, as they are now saying that they are required to do with George Wright? We know that nobody can remove a senator unless only in regards to how the Constitution provides that he can be removed. It was Andrew Holness, the case brought against Andrew Holness, that made that pellucid, that no Prime Minister can remove a senator because the appointment is by the Governor General, and any resignation must be made to the Governor General. So once you're there, you're there.
Yeah.
So
security of tenure.
And you contrast the way the two cases are being handled, and you say, there must be a political reason. They feel that there's a political price which they would have to pay if they removed him, if they asked him to resign. And so there's been all sorts of, your word, gymnastics. Oh, first of all, he's going to sit as an independent, and he will no longer be a member of the JLP. Then it is now he's going to take leave of absence from the Parliament and leave of absence from the JLP. And so there are all these contortions. But in the final analysis, all the contortions are aimed at making sure that George Wright remains in place as a member of Parliament.
Interesting, very interesting. Senator Mottley, it used to be, I think it used to be, maybe I'm not old enough to understand it with clarity, but I think it used to be that whether home in Guyana or Jamaica, you used to have statesmen who either publicly or behind the scenes could call Prime Minister Andrew Holiness or senior members of his party and say, you all are going down the wrong road, a slippery, steep slope from where there's no coming back. You know, there might have been even regional statesmen, perhaps like Ralph Gonzalez, and stateswomen like Mia Motley
Right.
and Irfan Ali, who could call, you know, behind the scenes and say, you know, something is wrong about this situation. We have to address it, or else we will see an upsurge, an uptick in domestic violence and gender-based violence. What has happened to that? Or have we had that in Jamaica on this issue?
I would never make the assumption that it has not been done. The Prime Minister, to be fair to him, is usually very responsive to public pressure. He has not been on this matter, not at all. And it will, I know one day we will find out why. I am sure that there people have called him. I'm sure that church leaders have called him. I'm sure that some of his prominent supporters have called him. But he is obstinate and obdurate on this matter. So they say that they have no legal authority to remove him, no legal authority for him to resign, that there's no provision for it to be done. Well, it might be a long time, but perhaps the voters can decide what kind of character their member of parliament must display.
Yeah. This incident, it is so jarring. What transpired at home between MP Kwame McKoy, who has a history of this kind of violence, the assault against MP Tabitha Sarabo-Halley, and what transpired there between MP George Wright and his paramour, Miss Tannisha Singh, you know, sends a shockwave throughout the region. And the fact that we have social media, I think it'd be remiss of any parliamentarian to think that we're operating, you know, in our own little corners of our countries and constituency. Anything that happened in Westmoreland, you know, is instantly known throughout the Caribbean and internationally. What do you say to women as a Caribbean woman yourself, based on what they are seeing and the justice being denied really and truly in this incident? What do you say to them? Some of them might be watching us right now and in similar situations with similar partners. What do you say to them?
I would say to them, you have to remain strong. You can't give up. We as Caribbean women, we have had to fight for everything. Nothing has come to us lightly. Even if we have a political position, we have to fight for it. We see where women are in the trenches and the men leapfrog over them to take the positions of power while the women do the work. I would say to them, let us start by supporting each other, by holding each other's hand on this journey. If you know that your friend is being abused, encourage her to make a report. If she needs counseling, find her a counselor. If it is that she has to run from the man, find her a shelter, find her a safe place. But don't give up. Don't ever give up. Together we can make, once we are bonded together, we can succeed in what we do.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Senator Motley. And just before we go, I know that in both countries, Jamaica and Guyana. Yes. Go right ahead, Senator.
We know that women are abused regardless of status, regardless of their profession, regardless of how much money they earn. We know that women are abused. That's why I reference the fact that there are women just think naturally that men should lead and that men should, you know, have power and control over them. Mm-hmm. And that's why the first response is, what did she do him? I want to let the women know you are not responsible for anybody else's actions. We need to teach our sons how to be good men and good fathers and how to treat women, their sisters, their friends, how to treat them with respect. That's what we women need to do to grow the men in the right way, so that the next generation beyond us, it will be, not eliminated, but it will be significantly reduced.
Yeah, mitigated.
Mitigated. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that intervention, Senator Mottley there. And I think it is very, very timely. And I think every day we should be reflecting on gender-based violence as we're discussing here this evening, and how we can minimize its impact and influence. And sadly, when we see incidents like here, as the speaker there in Jamaica said, in the highest court in Jamaica, involving one of its members, and it being dealt with in this manner, it doesn't lend for confidence in the institutions that should be on the front line fighting and pushing back against violence in any form, especially gender-based violence. And outside of that, I know that in both countries that we are fighting on the front lines with COVID. What's happening in Jamaica on that front as we wrap up?
As you know, from all accounts, the number of cases are being reduced. Now, I have to say from all accounts, because the testing is not quite as wide as it used to be. So we have fewer numbers being tested. And today's positivity rate was like 25%. Coming from a 47, at one time, 47%. So we probably had like 81 cases today. We had 6 deaths. And that is what is concerning, because in the past, you didn't hear about so many deaths. Now, every day, you have at least 6 deaths. And at one time, you had as much as 30. We have lost a lot of people who, yesterday, we lost one of our most popular broadcasters, Michael Sharp.
Our condolences. I saw that. Yeah.
And so on. So, it comes close when you begin to lose your friends and so on. I sent a message to a friend today that I went into the pharmacy to get some sympathy cards, and that was the only shelf which was completely empty.
Wow.
Everything else
Wow.
was there. So,
Wow.
interestingly though, women are more impacted by COVID than anybody else. Women have lost, 50% of women have lost their jobs. Those who have their jobs, some have had to quit their jobs because they have to be caregivers at home with online schooling now. Approximately 5,000 more women than men are infected with COVID. And that is understandable because of this. They are in service industry. They are in constant contact with people. So even there, we women find ourselves being prejudiced because, we suffer more. I hope that...
Right there. Sorry about that.
I hope that we'll be able to contain it. Our economy is suffering very badly. We have been having weekends of lockdown. And of course, in lockdowns, it's usually the poor who really suffer, because Saturdays and Friday evenings are their main ways of what we say, doing a little hustle. The market women go out on a Friday and a Saturday. So there are going to be consequences to all of this, I regret to say. And I just hope that we can overcome it.
Offhand, what is it that toll in Jamaica?
I think that I can't remember offhand. We have over 44,000 cases, and we have, certainly the last time I checked, because I don't like checking, we had over 500 deaths. That might be significantly more now.
Wow.
As I said, it's just in the last few months that the deaths have increased a lot. We even had, we have lost quite a few members of the legal fraternity. Last week, Sunday, yet another one. We have lost about 7 people that we know of. And it's just sad.
Yeah, indeed it is. It is, and we continue to encourage, as I'm sure you do on a daily basis, for those persons who are watching, this program and similar programs, to adhere to the COVID protocols wherever you're joining us from, in Jamaica, in Guyana, in the Caribbean, internationally. adhere to those COVID-19 protocols. And the basic things that you can do as per normal is to sanitize, wear your mask, social distance, the basic. So continue to do that.
Remember, the vaccine is not a cure, and it does not prevent you getting COVID. It minimizes the impact which COVID will have on you. And I say this, Sharon, because somebody I know was feeling ill, and I said, but those are symptoms of COVID. And she said, no, I can't get COVID. I had my vaccine. So I'm asking those viewers to remind their friends, you have a vaccine, you still have to observe the protocols. A vaccine is not a prophylactic. It only cuts the risk and the danger.
Very well. Senator Donna, Scott-Mottley, it has been my privilege, and I really want to thank you for accepting our invitation to be part of our program this evening. Attorney at law from the People's National Party and the opposition spokesperson on justice and gender affairs. It has been an education and a privilege, Senator Mottley.
Thank you for putting me in the ring.
Thank you for accepting the invitation again. Thanks very much. A very great evening to all folks, and do stay safe. Thanks very much for joining. We're going to see you guys tomorrow evening. Have a great evening all. Stay safe.